Welcome, Capital Raisers. Niel joined us today, and this dude is sharp. There are crazy amounts of business operations and capital raising nuggets in this one, my friends, so take some notes. Are you guys ready to raise? Shout out to Invest Next, our portal of choice, and the Family Office Club. By spending time around ultra high net worth family offices, you will level up your game not only financially, but physically, mentally, and spiritually. Get the Family Office Club for $2,000 off by mentioning the Capital Raiser Show to Holly at familyoffices.com. With that, it's Capital Raiser Show episode 299, and it starts now. Rock and roll. I got Niel on the Capital Raiser Show. Welcome, my friend. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing great today, man. Thanks for having me on. Super excited about this podcast.
Yeah, me too, dude. I was on your podcast, the High Voltage Business Builders. That was a lot of fun. The Capital Raiser Show, Season 4, brought to you by our friends at the Family Office Club and our new official sponsor, Invest Next. We're going to dive into all kinds of stuff, investing in e-commerce brands, possibly touch on some taxes, definitely building passive income. And then, of course, this is going to be really fun to talk about, is you have a fund that's not a Reg D 506 kind of fund whatsoever. So we're going to have to dive into that. So welcome to the show, man. Once again, please let the audience know who Niel was and how you got started in your investing in e-commerce businesses.
Yeah, I'll save the nonsense for the rest of the airwaves, and you can go look me up online and get the rest of the details. But in terms of business, I mean, I've been developing e-com companies for quite a long time. Jumped out of IBM in 2007 to build a management consulting firm that has shifted and evolved through high-tech oil and gas, mobile, and into business and finances, eventually into capital and Series A funding, and then through that into e-commerce brands in 2012. And we've been developing e-commerce brands and developing the mechanisms, processes, procedures since then, focusing on channels like Amazon FBA, retail, direct-to-consumer, and a holistic multi-channel sales development process from zero to hero, and of course, exit to acquire. So that's me in a nutshell, with all the other details I'm sure below the surface we can dig out. But to build this relationship, let's talk about what it means. Get into the details. That's more fun than talking about myself.
Okay, we'll definitely dive into the e-commerce brands for sure. But before we go down that direction, I'm really curious because I hadn't heard this before. You mentioned working with Reg A Securities. What was that all about?
Well, once upon a time, I developed capital for startups in the oil and gas space. And we had a really cool patented and invented product that never made it to market. So I learned very quickly about the difference between innovation and invention. Invention, Elon Musk, great ideas. Everybody watched Shark Tank. Kevin Harrington's a good friend of mine. He was one of the first Shark Tank hosts and became one of my mentors. But the end result is there's a lot of ideas and concepts that says, well, I can't be a hero from zero to hero if I don't develop something really unique and I invent something that no one's heard of. I'm never going to be this big windfall. And I fell into that trap for a while and then went bankrupt and then realized that's not how you do it. The way to do it is to innovate. The way to do it is to take ideas, create inventive innovations, and then put something back in the market that people want, give them more of it, get them emotionally attached to it and grow it up. So I've been through the Series A funding, large startup companies raising millions of dollars to develop that process. I've seen that both be successful and fail. And I found more success for more people in the innovation side of the business, which allowed me to get into physical products, which is full of innovations, lots of innovations in the physical product world.
So let's chat about that. So you do investing in e-commerce brands. What does that mean? Let's break that down a little bit further because that can be easily misinterpreted.
Well,
because there's a lot of guys out there that are doing e-commerce and you're not talking about the same stuff that those guys are talking about.
Not usually. No, I tend to go against the grain on that kind of crap because what you hear a lot of hopium guru mindset mentalities, it's like buy into this done for you passive income opportunity. And that's typically going to be flipping products for profit, shopping your way to wealth, online arbitrage, these kinds of physical product models. I tried that way back before it was cool. I built it to 20,000 square foot of warehouse in Utah with my partners, and we had 12 employees, and we were running 10 trucks a week in the wholesale FBA methodology. That did 8 figures and then crashed and burned when we realized it simply was not sustainable, profitable, and could not be the right growth method. So we invested a lot of money, time into that, and literally just created a job. Instead of having 80 hours a month, we ended up with 80 hours a week. I was flying back and forth from Tulsa to Utah, and that was just stupid because I had private label brands ran by VAs and no employees that were doing really well. In fact, that was the economic engine that powered this other crime opportunity of crime or crime of opportunity. And that's what it turned into. So I don't advise against that. I don't advise against putting money into things you don't know. You either invest in what you know or you invest in the knowing, but you shouldn't just put money into things that you don't understand. That's friends, family, and fools. So be very careful. There's time investment, there's capital investment. Everybody wants to create two of those different things or make one or the other one work for each other. And I would always advise that there is an active to passive investment in anything you do. So you really become skilled and knowledgeable about what you're getting involved in. So when people come to me and they want to buy companies or they want to invest, I usually tell them, you invest in yourself first, understand how to fly that plane, and then go buy a fleet of planes once you understand how they work. Don't just go in with the idea, I'm going to become the guy who owns the fleet of planes when you have no idea how they really work. Yeah, there's two aspects that could be argued there. I know friends who buy companies and invest in all kinds of things, and they don't have any ownership in the management of them. And there are two schools of thought there, and I'm not against either one of them. I just chose to get people into a position of what it means to actually become independent of life, trading time for money, and skipping that kind of stuff. So there's investing in time, knowledge, there's investing in capital, knowledge. And the goal there, of course, is to do them both as best as possible without trading time for money and building yourself back into a job as much as possible.
So what is the person that takes down one of these brands? What are they getting when they buy one of the brands from you?
If they're buying a brand asset, if we're brokering it, or if it's something we're selling of our own, it's always going to be a business that happens to have seller accounts attached to it. Seller accounts being the platform or mechanism by which the sales are occurring, whether it's on Amazon or DTC, which is direct to consumer. That could be a website, a Shopify, or some other mechanism, or even retail contracts. Typically, you're buying the paper, you're buying the customer list, and you're buying the upside potential of that business. Now, that business will, in our instance, always come with physical inventory. So we have both virtual marketplaces, if you will, that we sell online, which is a website, Amazon.com, other places. And then we have the physical inventory that comes along with it. And this is where I love the concept of making sure people understand real estate and the virtual sense and the physical sense. You understand it and operate a little bit more. I decided that toilets, termites, and tenants were not something I wanted to do. So I went into the more virtual marketplace with physical product behind it, giving me literally an unlimited virtual real estate playing field, because I can adapt, create brands, and do not have certain market segments like comparables, market comparables, local comparables. You have a home next to a multi-tenant. Are you dealing with short-term rentals and private property? Are you dealing with what's your cash on cash value? We have a different way of looking at it with a physical product inventory in the virtual space that gives me an upside potential to go into and to create a market and then create the value of that market. And if I want to sell it for $20 more or $200 more than my competitor, and I can get that for the market, then that's what I can sell it for. So I don't have certain restrictions to that capitalization or upside potential that some in real estate do, while still maintaining a physical asset on the backside. And physical assets can have all kinds of value, from taxation to compound to write-offs to loans against the inventory. All kinds of things can be done with that.
Cross collateralization across inventory. I haven't heard of that concept. That's very cool. So just to be clear and to recap here, you're taking a person that wants a business, but you're not helping them create it. They're actually buying an existing business that's already cash flow and in a position where this company is going to scale based off of the things that you've already put in place before they purchase this business.
We do both. So I will take people in to become trained, like a flight instructor trains a pilot who wants to go for 100 hours and learn how to get certified and become a pilot. I will train CEOs, entrepreneurs, and business people to go in and become the operator, CEO operator. From there, they will then have the knowledge of how to assess, capitalize, and operate one of these businesses, at which point we can present them with businesses, or they may come into businesses in the marketplace with a very strong viewpoint of the cash flow basis, the annual run rates, the inventory requirements, and the upside potential from a knowledge position. At that point, buying businesses becomes an opportunity for them.
So if I want to buy a business that's already running, that's going to be hands off, is that a possibility with you?
It could be at the next stage. So we're at a capital raise now of around 10 million. We're going to go out and acquire 3 to 5 companies with an investment group. It's going to be a prototype of something we did a few years ago. I raised nearly 100 million in the marketplace to go out and buy about 50 companies. And we had that all ready to go to paper. And then we stopped because it was just around the pre-COVID days. And we knew that COVID was going to create a bump. We could see the potential forecast of over-evaluation of companies that would be purchased too high. And then we were going to see a drop, most likely. It was not completely sustainable. my partner, who is the financial guru of our business, and he is the guy that has built and owned more than 125 million in capitalized tenants and inventory, and the underwrote thousands of mortgage deals, etc. He kind of applied that knowledge to what was occurring, and he said we should probably pause, which was really kind of annoying because I spent so much time, about 18 months, getting through the process of raising that capital and getting it to that point. And he's like, we better pause at this moment because we're going to be buying businesses that are too high. So we did. So as that went back down, 30+% drop, that was the smart move. So now that the market has kind of shifted about a year, about 16 months beyond that point, we're looking at it and going, okay, let's go back and raise a small amount. Let's start at that around 10 million amount, pull in 3 to 5, get everything stabilized, kind of see where we are. And then from there, either raise an additional 50 million or more. It's not going to be hard for our networks to do that. Our capital partners could easily raise 50 million. It's just a matter of how to apply it correctly and making sure the model is going to be sustainable for both us and them, because we do take a percentage of ownership in that, and we want to see the upside potential, and we want to be really smart. So the long story is, could you come to me and buy a business and have my company operate it on a one-off deal? Possibly, but not a one, usually not in that mechanism you may be saying, because I don't want everybody just coming in with the wrong understanding, expectations, and that done for you mindset mentality, because I don't have any interest in doing that at that level, because my time and energy and attention are important. And if you are going to take some of that in this deal, I want to be very clear what the upside potential is. Otherwise, I'll just do it myself. So okay, it has to be of good value.
So if I buy one of these automated businesses, I think it says here I need to put in 10 to 15 hours. I don't know if there's ranges.
So if you're going to do the if you're going to do the done with you side, because there's, again, two components. If you're going to do the done with you side, you need to at least dedicate about 20 hours a week to the knowledge learned, the understanding, the revenue generating activities, the standing up of a brand, and actually ensuring the quality and integrity of that business. It's not a side hustle. It's not a hobby business, because you're going to deploy at least 100K in the first 12 months or more when that business stands up, right? And when it starts to go, it's a capital heavy type of business model, because you're going to need to buy a lot more inventory. But once you dial in the data, and your major restriction at that point is capitalization of inventory, because the systems of Amazon and others can keep up with you. They sold 7,800 products a minute last year. So the ability to capitalize this into growth and scale of 8 figures in 36 months is a total doable possibility. And so with that, we have to understand what the cash on cash value is, the 30 days and 60, 90-day run rates, the cash flow plans of that. And that is more of understanding the business, becoming a CEO operator, launching your brand, and then watching it grow to scale. At that point, 20 hours a week, believe it or not, we have $8 to $10 million annual run rates on our businesses with no employees, no warehouses, no infrastructure, no employees. It's a very different model that can grow through economies of scale. That real estate has certain points where you've got to have an office, or you got to have more agents, you got to have more employees. It's just required.
Yeah.
We don't have that overhead in our business. We can grow these businesses with dashboards, data, and virtual assistants, and no employees.
So how do you make money in this process?
Well, we raise our own brands. Number one, we have our own businesses. We do this on our own. I have operators trained up from my group. I trained some people to go become successful in business. They did that. And then about 2 years ago, I did a hand race for those who were in my group who might want to become operators of our companies. And we tiered them up into operators and have them now took over the operations. My business partner's son, who we started training when he was 16, is now 25. He runs all of our account management systems for us. Our operators in base for our businesses, I'm freed up to do time and other things, talk about this, do podcasting and all that stuff, knowing operations are fully in hand. So we teach people how to raise that up, or we help them raise that as an operator later, so they can stay at 20 hours a week and 8 figures. Believe it or not, it's totally doable, because when it becomes blinky lights and dashboards and movement of product just in time for manufacturing to onshore and into the customer, you don't have to unload 40-foot containers. We can move 10 a month without a problem. And it's all ran through logistics and management. It becomes dashboard-driven metrics.
Yeah, that is fascinating. So somebody that wants to come in and put in some work and become mentored and educated in this business, they're not just handed the keys, like you actually stay in the business. Is that correct?
I take no ownership of their business until time of sales. There's no profit split. There's a profit performance goal, which I will basically put 10K in the game of my fee. It's a 35K fee. I hold back 10K. I'm putting his skin in the game. I said, if you show up, do the work, drink the water, and follow the process like my successful people, we will be with you one-on-one for 12 months to ensure you do this the right way. You learn how to do it, you apply it, you make money while you're doing it. It's not like you have to buy that asset and then wait for it to start to materialize at 500 to 1,000 a month. on your Airbnb or whatever it is, you're going to be earning capital as you put capital in, as you launch to revenue, and as you make sales. Then you will capitalize along the way. And there's your opportunity to grow that value very quickly into revenues and most importantly, profits at high, 20, 30% net margins on your turnover. And we turn over inventory relatively fast when we get to the sales velocity. So yeah, someone comes in, they're trained, we hold them one-on-one, we have accountability, I put some skin in the game, they show up, we teach them how to become a great CEO operator. Then they can multi-brand, multi-franchise, multi-operate, bring in capital, purchase other brands to acquire and grow. And that can go very fast for people who think in that right mindset.
Nice. Okay. So is the idea, if I'm an investor, owner, operator that comes in, puts in the work, invests money,
Yep.
gets handheld or at least some assistance from you, is the idea for me to sell this business at the end of 18 months, 36 months? Tell me about that part.
So Voltage is both there to broker and acquire those businesses later on, which is part of this fund and other funds that I have, where people want to buy these companies who are on the other side of that. They have more money than time. They trust us as the operators when we are in that trust position and they understand how these businesses are ran, capitalized, and grown, then we can acquire our clients' businesses after 36 months. So as long as they're meeting the requirements, we take them on an off or first rights of refusal deal, off broker to come to us and say, hey, we'll buy your company or help you broker it to our network. There's more money to be made there. There's upside potential. And we already know the business, the operations, the upside. We've watched it. We know exactly how we can capitalize it when they haven't been able to and take it out to market, elevate it to one group of buyers. And then when that reaches time, you go to the next group of buyers. There's always a group of buyers higher than the other group, right? So certain family offices and growth won't put in more than 50 million in capital. We know that. So we can raise them up, put the whole portfolio together and say, here, those of you who can't deploy 50 million, here's your package of portfolio. So yeah, we will acquire or help broker through acquisitions those businesses when the time comes. We are also the exit strategy at Voltage.
So if you really love your business that you built and you're invested in it,
yeah,
you got time in it, is there an opportunity to turn it into a duplicatable franchise that can then be sold or multiplied? So that way, I want to hear about that.
Well, technically you have a brand in a business. You could have multiple versions of that brand. You could start up multiple brands within that company that are all either directly or indirectly aligned through each other. And once you understand how to create a brand repeatable process, think about a brand like a franchise. Each time you bring up a brand, it would be like starting a new revenue stream. And in that revenue stream are all the products underneath it that are all individual revenue streams. And so as you put those into a portfolio, you could have 5 or 6 brands running in a portfolio, all touching, say, home and kitchen type products, but all different brands. Think of it like a conglomerate. And then at that point, you could either sell off some of the brands to capitalize the ones that are going faster, or you can sell the whole package as a portfolio. So once you get this running, there's no stopping you. And at that point, you can go acquire other brands in the market to meet up with your portfolio to make it go faster, to move from an active to a passive investor. Bring in an operator who can take over operations for that and manage the full thing, or Voltage can provide an operator. Once you get more than 30,000 a month in revenues, we can provide an operator who's trained to run the whole business top down and make it completely passive mailbox money channel for you.
Okay, so what about if I have a tax problem? Does starting a business with you or becoming an investor owner operator solve any of my tax problems?
Well, if you've understood anything about wealth management or wealth without Wall Street opportunities, we both have managers, investment groups. I just spoke at an event this weekend in Nashville with the Wealth Without Wall Street group, who handles millionaires, decamillionaires, and billionaires in terms of wealth management in off Wall Street opportunities. We've got one of the largest firms in the country in Idaho that runs our back-end operations and bookkeeping. So all we are trying to do at this point is make sure people understand there's a fundamentals of business that's done for growth and, of course, wealth keeping, wealth management. Not sending more money to other countries than we need to at all possible, keeping it back in operations. We are not wealth management advisors directly, although we are very much involved in that. So when it comes to how you create it, how you stack your businesses, how we keep more money in our pockets and less into taxation through legal loopholes and other things that are there for us, we teach those backwards to our folks as they grow up and give them the network to also expand that out, to remove taxation or opportunities for investments to lower those risks.
Yeah, you beat up just for a second a little bit about real estate. And I got to say, real estate is an incredible tax shelter. So if you invest in real estate, is that part of the strategy at all with you guys? Like, do you ever say,
if you can take capital and go into real estate? Absolutely.
Yeah, because then all of a sudden you got cash segregation, you got other kind of.
I got people going from this direction to
gas
into real estate, and I got people who are taking real estate earnings and diversifying with some deals that won't paper in at this moment and coming back to real estate because they understand exactly that now they're in both a virtual and a physical inventory asset like a real estate. And these are set up like virtual real estate. So it's not mutually exclusive. Maybe that's the right way to say this. It is an opportunity to diversify into areas where online may be an opportunity you can take advantage of. Everything's going digital, e-commerce, physical products, online products. The whole thing is flipping. The real question is, where do you take advantage of that, whether you're in the real estate world or whether you're in the virtual real estate world of online and physical products, or whether you combine them together as an opportunity. One way or another, it's changing. So the real question is, how do you get involved in it on one side or the other to take advantage of that opportunity so that you become an entrepreneur, not a victim? There's a lot more money to be made in entrepreneurialism than victimhood, isn't there?
Love it. All right, cool, man. How about you talk a little bit about your podcast before we go into the lightning round?
Yeah, the High Voltage Business Builders podcast was something in which I speak and I talk at groups and have these conversations, but I didn't have a podcast of my own. People kept saying, hey, get on a podcast, talk about what you know, interview people. And it turned out that that's been a really great thing. It wasn't a marketing exercise as much as that was like, here, let me put people and have a conversation on there, maybe take 20, 25 minutes, unscripted, just have a combo, learn what they learn and do it in kind of an opportunity for people to know and like and trust whatever particular conversation we're having. We're about 60% e-com conversational topic, but about 40% other. What are the other ways we invest and put money in the market and capitalize money? What's happening in the geopolitical realm that we need to know about or can be advising towards? And how do we do wealth without Wall Street opportunities that are not traditional and standardized investment models? How do we manage finances and grow through these economic times? And I interview all kinds of people, including yourself, that come on and talk about how they've built these different things, guys, from $1 million a year to $100+ million a year. And I had to be blessed with some really great conversations. You can go over to voltagedm.com/podcasts, Voltage Digital Marketing or DM.com, and check it out. I've got some really great guests. I've been honored and pleased to be in company of yourself and other great people having some really cool.
You're a great host, extremely articulate, very eloquent. So you're a blast. So it's really fun.
Thank you.
Educational to talk to you. All right, cool, man.
Thank you.
First question on the lightning round is, what is the best vacation you've ever taken?
I live in a life of adventure. I live on 45 acres in the country. I homeschool my kids. I shoot off my deck. I've got big boy toys. My life feels like one continuous vacation when I step out of this office. So I don't necessarily vacation to get away from my life like others do, maybe, or just to travel. So some of the best we've ever had was just literally a week on the beach in Florida on the Panhandle, down Panama C-30A. We get a house. We bring the whole family to the house, and then we just hang out at the beach and just relax and put our feet in the sand. Best vacations ever.
Awesome. Favorite book of any kind?
I come back to two continuously. Let me see if I can just pick out one, but I would say Feel the Fear and Do It Anyways. Feel the Fear and Do It Anyways. That was Susan Jeffries. It was instrumental in life changes for me and asking the question, what's the worst that can happen? And when you realize, if you've gone through a lot of life like I have, if you've had close family deaths, if you've been through a divorce, if you've been bankrupt, and I have all those things plus more, then it is one in which you continually remind yourself to ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? And then you will just decide to feel the fear and do it anyways. That was a great book.
I haven't heard of that one. I'll have to go check that out. How much of your success do you attribute to mindset?
99%.
And how long do you want to live?
As long as quality of life meets up with mind. If my mind is rocking and my body fails, I want out.
Best way to raise capital from your perspective? Short answer on that.
Close relationships in your network with trusted business interactions before capital passes hands.
Can you tell me about a moment that changed the trajectory of your life?
Sitting in a basement with my pregnant wife and our third child filing for bankruptcy. And basically walking into a cold room, gray, fluorescent, flickering lights, and 15 tables all set up with 15 judges who were dealing with the lowest moment in people's lives in a financial situation in this world. That was life-changing for me in that moment.
What would you need in order to 10x your business?
I don't want to 10x my business. I've had the opportunity. I turned down the offer. I'm not going to answer your question the right way. I apologize. But for me,
no, that's cool. It's not always answered the way that you would expect.
I have had the highest business opportunities in the world, and I don't want that because it's going to force me to try to get back to a lifestyle. So I know it sounds sexy to say 10x your business, but if you can't do it in a way where time constraints and family and focus of priorities for me and purpose above money is not there, then I won't do it. If it's not fun, it's not people, and then it's not profitable in all those areas that then begets the financial profit, I'm out.
Okay, what do you love best about being an e-commerce investor?
There are so many ideas that when I tried different things before I got into the physical aspect of the e-com world and the physical product world, that I wanted to shift different verticals because I was trying to find that thing. And so when I locked into e-commerce, what I discovered was I can be the ADHD, entrepreneurial, creative, continuous jumping off the cliff and doing it on the way down in the e-commerce physical branded world, because then I can just create, do. If they say success is boring, that can be if you stay in one of those verticals. I found that e-com for me continually is fun, continually changes. I can adapt and create in this area new products and brands and customer stuff to market. And it's a never-ending, constant challenge of opportunities and problem solving. And for that, I found a vertical that I can continue to grow and play in and be in without just like shifting to all different kinds of things.
Nice answer. Okay, 3 more questions. Do your spiritual philosophies have anything to do with your success in business?
100%. Everything that I have was given to me by God, the creator. I'm a faith-believing Jesus man. And because of that, I was saved by grace once upon a time. And once I got myself out of the way and I gave him full control, everything is his. I'm simply a steward over it.
Wayne Dyer used to always like to say, I don't write the books. God writes the books through me. So I always thought that was really cool. All right, 2 more questions. Have you ever experienced a miracle or had a near-death experience?
Yes, absolutely. It would be the second answer to that question, what was life defining and changing? And that was one moment at the end of a very sad divorce, a very upheaval in my life where I decided that it was no longer worth staying in this world because I felt I'd lost everything, purpose and value. And one night on a 70 highway in Kansas City at about 150 miles an hour, I was going to pull the wheel into an embankment. That was the end of it.
Wow.
That was a pretty life-changing moment. And I heard a voice basically say, not now.
Yeah.
And I pulled the wheel back and slowed the car down.
You know what? Because I've had a really, really challenging month. I had like a sickness. I think it was COVID or something for like 14 days. And right after I got out of that, my aunt died and I was like going into depression. And I was like, am I really worthy and capable of creating all these things? I'm about to launch a capital raising mentorship program. And I was just struggling. Thank God my wife was there to kind of get me out. And I had some Wayne Dyer affirmations that I could listen to that finally shut down that noise, because we have these voices in our head.
Yeah. Yes, we do.
Man.
Always banging on your head, telling you're not good enough, you're smart enough. If you do this, it's going to fail. And no one loves you. I mean, I heard it all till I was depressed to the point where life wasn't worthy of anything anymore. What's the point?
So hopefully if anybody out there is going through that, just understand that there's still life ahead of you.
There's always a way out, and I would not be sitting here today if I took the easy way out. And I know people don't necessarily like to hear that because it's not politically correct, but that for me would have been the easy way out. But for everyone around me, it would have been the hard path. And that was very selfish to do that. I recognize it now in that moment. I'm grateful that God gave me those insights because I don't take that for granted anymore. I did once upon a time.
Freaking crazy answers. All right, that was amazing. All right, last question of the day brought to you by Shannon Mingo, one of our great listeners. She would like to know, what impact would you like to leave in the world?
My impact is on my family. If I leave, I have women in my house, I have 5 women. I was given this opportunity. I'm not a boy dad, as it turns out. I thought maybe I would want to be a boy dad, but as it turns out, God knew exactly where I should be. I'm a girl dad. That's cool. I love it. I love my girl dad friends who have girls too, and we commiserate around the life of dads, and they are a blessing. So I want to leave them as an impact upon the world, because while my name may go with this and my legacy will pass beyond that, I want to know that I've left good citizens, faith-believing women in the world who remember to think beyond themselves and remember servant leadership above all things first.
Phenomenal answers on the lightning round. That was one of my favorite lightning rounds ever. Shout out to the Capital Raiser Nation. Thanks for tuning in. Please leave us a 5-star written review. Shout out to our sponsors, Family Office Club and Invest Next. Niel, how does the audience get a hold of you?
Yeah, well, look, I got a short last name. As you probably have been watching this, and maybe you haven't, you'll figure out real quick. I'm not a small Asian guy. It is actually French, but it is now TWA. So you can search me, Google me, find me on the social media webs, go out and check for Voltage, which is also on there. You'll find me anywhere. Choose which one you prefer to get connected to, and I will see you there.
All right. Any last words of wisdom for the aspiring capital raiser or e-commerce investor as they scale on their journey?
Try to invert what is normally a natural instinct of human nature to go after profit and revenue and growth continuously. Don't do it at the sake of family, friends, and relationship. You cannot take it with you. There's never a U-Haul behind a hearse. Don't be that guy. Focus on what you've got now. Focus on what you can leave as an impact. Don't think of money as your only legacy. Your time and energy to your family is worth way more than that.
Woo! Fire, Niel. That was an amazing conversation, man. Stoked
Thanks.
to have you. Thanks for joining us once again.
My pleasure. I'm honored. Thank you for having me.